I have a story for you. There was this young priest, full of great ideas, enthusiastic, passionate, really wanting to make his mark, and he started working at a new parish. One day, the elder priest called him in, and he said, "Son, I just want you to know we're really happy to have you here, and I really love, some of the changes you've made. You've really done a great job." And the younger priest is feeling really good already about this meeting. He was a little nervous about the meeting, but now he's feeling really good about the meeting. And the older priest said, "For example, your idea to replace the first 3 rows of hard pews with soft, plushy chairs really has gotten people moved up to the front. And I like that. And by the way, thank you for being willing to sit up front, even in the hard pews." And so the young priest was feeling good about that. And then the older priest says, "And your idea that if we want to attract more young people, we got to up-level our music and get more happening music. And so you brought in this rock gospel choir, and young people are flocking to us. And so thank you." Again, the young priest is feeling really good. And then the elder priest said, "But I'm afraid you've just gone too far with the drive-through confessionals." Oh, wait, there's more. And the young priest says, "What do you mean gone too far? My confessionals have increased like 20, 30, 40% since we started it." And the elder priest said, I know. But the flashing neon sign on top of the church saying, "Toot and tell or go to hell," has to go. I thought that was an appropriate story for this morning, for the fact that we've made changes to the way we're doing things. No neon sign on the roof, though, saying "Toot and tell or go to hell," I promise. Although, that little alcove right there and those 2 doors right there used to be confessionals, just so you know. This was a Catholic church before we bought it. And those, now it's for the band, but, we'll throw you guys in there if you misbehave. So appropriate for the changes we're making and appropriate for our theme for this month, and particularly for today, which is get over yourself already. Get over yourself in terms of what is going on in your life, changes that are coming, changes that have come. How are you living from a place where you can shake it off? I love that song. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. Thank you, Taylor Swift, for writing it, but you did it. You did it. Yeah, she did it, right, exactly. We're going to talk about that today, about really getting over ourselves. Quit taking ourselves so seriously. Quit having such a narrow focus. Quit being resistant to change, and open up to being the badass that you came here to be, because that's our monthly theme, living your badass life. I know, I've used that word on the pulpit now 3 weeks in a row. I'm starting to get used to it. Who knows what might come next? I have already done that. I've already stood on pews. So no, it has to be something else. We don't know. We don't know. Our monthly theme has been inspired by the book "You're a Badass" by Jen Cisnero. I have it up here. Today is loosely inspired by it. A couple things will come from it, but more of just what I wanted to talk about. So we're going to look today at getting over our narrow focus on life, or said another way, expand your focus. This is one way we get over ourselves. A second way we get over ourselves is to quit resisting change. I just want you to touch in. You don't have to tell me this, but how did you feel, if you've been coming here for a long time, about the change in service? Don't have to say anything, but if you had an angst around the change, this particular section will be for you, and we're going to call it embracing change. And then the third area we're going to look at today is let's get out of feeling like it has to be a certain way. It has to go this way, and rather go with the flow. Those are 3 ways we can get over ourselves and really live into the badassness, if that's a word, that we came here to live, which is a life of expansion and joy and connection and harmony and peace and fun and abundance and health and vitality. All of those things are what living a badass life means. And by the way, Rick, you are my example this morning of badass. Look at him. I may have to borrow that whole ensemble for, you never know. You never know. All right. So expand your focus. Expand your focus. I want to do a little experiment that is in the book. And if you've read the book, you maybe did this experiment, but we're going to do it here today. So you ready for an experiment? Yes, good. I want you, for the next 15 seconds, I'll say time, to just look around the room. Don't forget to look behind you. Look around the room and count the number of red items that you see. Just count the number of red. Go. Time. Talk to me. How many did you see? A lot. I see 7. I heard a lot. 18, 20, 34, 13. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, come back to me. Come back. Look at me. You got it? Focus here. How much yellow is in the room? Focus here. How much yellow is in the room? Oh, somebody says a lot. I'm sure there's a lot. Right. 1 or 2 maybe. Okay. So here's the deal. When you are looking for red, you don't see yellow, right? When your focus is on red, you are not seeing yellow. How appropriate that is for our lives. When we are looking at life a certain way, with our blinders here, we do not see what is happening over here. And I love this quote from our theme book about this experiment. She says, and this is just an example of what we're not noticing that we can see. But there are other things that we can't tangibly see, like red and yellow. She says there's also an infinite amount of emotions and thoughts and beliefs and interpretations and sounds and dreams and opportunities and smells and points of view and ways to feel good and responses and non-responses and things to say and ways to help. And I will add that if we have our blinders on, we won't see. Yet, because we're so set in our ways and committed to how things ought to be and what our reality should look like, we only scratch the very surface of all that's available to us in every single moment. Meanwhile, we're totally surrounded by countless awesome versions of reality. And they're all just hanging around like a bunch of shy teenage girls at a prom, leaning against the wall, waiting for us to ask them to dance. So why would you create anything that's not totally awesome? I'm going to give you an example of the blinders that can go on, and it's a personal example that I had happen to me, really, when I was in Colorado a couple of weeks ago. I spent the weekend with my goddaughter, my adult goddaughter, who I haven't spent much time with her as an adult, and I spent a lot of time with her as a kid, but it was lovely to be with her as an adult. And on the Monday before I left to go be in the seminar I was going to be in for the next 6 days, she asked me if I wanted to do laundry. I said, sure, I'd love to do laundry, and I'll wash the towels that I've used, etc. So I have my load of laundry, and it's time to take it out of the washer into the dryer. I reach my hand down in to pull out the first batch, and as I pull out, I knock my hand against the agitator, and I had my diamond ring on, my wedding ring, and lo and behold, as I look, the center diamond, she's gone. Righto, was what I said, because this has a huge significance to me, always has, and now, since my husband has passed away, it has even more significance to me. It's, a tie, a connection that I still have, a tangible reminder. So I was a little bit, everybody, stop, don't move, don't move. So I'm like, it has to be down there, so I'm pulling out things gently, and I'm looking, and I'm not seeing it. And I didn't have that much in there. I didn't have that much laundry. My goddaughter's, it's there, it's got to be there. She gets her phone, turns on the, thank you, right. Flashlights are a thing of the past. They're just now on the phone. She's got the flashlight. We are not seeing it. My brain goes, because I've now pulled everything out except one big towel. This is where my brain goes. This is where my blinders went. There are little holes all in that inside bin, right? My brain said it went down in one of those holes, because I'm not seeing it in any of the clothes. Where else could it go? It couldn't go anywhere else. Blinders. And I said that to Jessica. I said, I'm afraid it went down. And she goes, no, it's too big to go down in one of those holes. I went, no, it's not. She goes, oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's too big a diamond. It can't fit. I'm like, I don't think you're right about that. How we argue for our limitations, right? I'm arguing for my limitation. But anyway, I say, well, I've got one more towel to pull out. I brought the towel out. I'm laying it out very carefully on the table. I'm looking. I'm like, it is not here. We're going to have to take that whole darn washer apart. And with that, Jessica goes, I found it. Okay. That darn diamond had defied gravity. Gravity says it would go down. Oh no, it popped up and was sitting on the ledge. The inside ledge of the whole tub agitates. It was sitting on the little ledge below the surrounding, of the, there it was, just perched, very precariously perched, but nonetheless perched on the edge. And we captured it. I put it in a little baggie. I saved it. When I got home, we had it put back in, and now my prongs are nice and strong. I know that was Lonnie saying, get to the jeweler and get those prongs tightened up. But it's such an example of I had my blinders on. I thought it had gone in a certain place, and that's the only place I was looking. I didn't look up. Just let that land. I didn't look up. Idea number one is open your eyes. Look side, up, down, behind you. You never know where your good is, where your expanded life is, where your infinite possibilities reside. And if you are only looking like this, you do not give the universe, God, source, spirit, the eternal, infinite expression of life itself to have its way with you if you just look here. Now, in order to expand those blinders, we have to do the second thing, which is be willing to change. Be willing to embrace change. Be willing to say yes to change. I'm going to go out on a limb even and say be willing to invite change. Be willing to invite it. There's a wonderful Chinese proverb that says, when the winds of change blow, some people build walls and others build windmills. What do you build, walls or windmills, when the winds of change blow? I particularly like, however, I love that whole thing, but I want to focus on the first phrase of that, which is when the winds of change blow. It does not say if the winds of change blow. There is no if about it. The winds of change will blow. They will, because that is life. Life is change, and change comes to us sometimes unexpectedly. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I have another minister story for you this morning. This is a story of let's make it that same young new priest that brought let's make it the same guy. So he's preaching for one of the first times, and he's so excited to be preaching, but also nervous. And he's giving a Bible quote, and he has memorized this quote. He knows this quote. He's memorized it. And he starts it. It's a quote from Jesus from the scripture. It says, "Behold, I come quickly." And right after he says that, he forgets what comes after that. He knew it, but in that moment, it's gone. So just as a little aside, this happens to ministers all the time. We forget where we're going, what we're supposed to say. So then the brain goes, okay, the file, we're going, what am I supposed to do? How do I handle this? Well, we've been taught things in ministerial school. One of the things he was taught was, if you forget what comes next, just repeat what you just said, only with a little more gusto, and that'll jog your energy and your memory, and you'll get it. So he says again, "Behold, I come quickly." But that didn't do it. He still didn't remember. So again, "Behold, I come quickly." He still doesn't remember it. So for a fourth time, he's like, I've got to remember the rest of this quote. So he gives it everything. He's put his full body in it, and he put his body in it so much as he says, "Behold, I come quickly." He lost his balance. He tumbles down. He knocks over the podium, and he lands smack in the lap of the little old lady, not you, Sherry, the little old lady sitting in the front seat, in the front cushy chair. And he says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I apologize." And she said, "Son, don't worry about it. It was my fault. I should have gotten out of the way. You warned me 4 times you were coming." No. Change often does not give us 4 warnings. that is coming. It just comes. It's just upon us. And we want to look at it as a big disruption in our life, a big unwanted shift. But what if it is not a disruption, but an eruption? For life to erupt into a fuller bloom. Mary Kay likes that, or Mary Beth likes that. I like that. What if it isn't your life taking a turn, a wrong direction, but in fact just your life taking the direction in which it needs to go for your fuller expression? So I want to just make a couple of specifics here. What if, getting laid off the job? I'm sure someone in this room has in the past gotten laid off from a job. Maybe somebody in this room right now is experiencing a layoff of a job. What if that layoff or the loss of that job is not because you're a mess up and you're never going to make anything of yourself? What if that layoff is setting you up for a much, much freer, more expansive experience in your work environment? What if that change came for that reason? What if, for example, you have a breakup of a relationship, a divorce, you split? It doesn't mean you're unworthy of love, which may be what you tell yourself, or you don't know how to do relationships. You'll never do a relationship, right? Because that's what your mother told you. Maybe it doesn't mean that. Maybe it means that you have invited in an ability to have a new level of love in your life, and that wasn't it. Maybe the change, the disruption that looks like a physical illness isn't because you're not worthy of a healthy, vibrant body. Maybe it's just to wake you up to a new way of being in your body, internally and or externally. Or even, and this is a hard one, humanly hard, but true, what if an illness in your body doesn't mean anything is wrong, but it just means that your soul is ready to not be here anymore? Your soul has done its work here. And even if you or those who love you don't understand that or don't want it, what if it means that? What if it means that? I think it does. I think all change is for the highest good of the evolution of our experience here or there, wherever the heck there is. So in that respect, all change, underscore all, when it happens, not if, is for the better. Ernest Holmes, in How to Use the Science of Mind, writes, "Behold, I make all things new. There is nothing permanent but change, and the infinite intelligence can never be caught in anything it does." I'm not exactly sure what that line means, but it's in there. I left it. If somebody can figure that out, come tell me, because I don't really quite get it. But I like the rest of it. What it does... I didn't tell first service that, but I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't always understand Holmes. What it does, it's true, right? What it does expresses its being at that particular time. In other words, the infinite is expressing itself in that way in this moment. However, tomorrow it may do it in an entirely different way, but always in accord with its fundamental harmony. So I read this quote like I always read Ernest, and I instruct students to pull the gems. Forget what you don't figure out. You'll get it some other time. Pull the gem. And the gem for this, for me, is things are always changing. There's an intelligence behind the change, and change is always in accord with fundamental harmony. And then I want to go to another book that Ernest wrote in a passage that makes 100% sense to me, that is why we can be okay, and in fact, embrace change. This is from A New Design for Living book, not in print anymore, but an amazing book if you can get your hands on it. Behind the endless process of change and the infinite variety of experience and expressions, there is that which does not change. We can trust there is that which does not change, that stands behind everything that is changing. And it is our rock. It is what we stand on. It is what we can rely on no matter what is happening in our lives. We stand on that which does not change, which then enables us to do our third idea from this morning, which is to go with the flow. to be willing to go with the flow. That life, because change is inevitable, something's going to get slammed at us, go with the flow. I had a great example of that just this week in something that was extremely, wound up being really, 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 really difficult for me. I didn't share that part in first service. Just horribly difficult, and yet I went with the flow. So to back up and really give you the example that I want to give is that my husband, before he passed, said to me, "Sell my car. You do not need to have 2 cars. My car doesn't need to be here. You don't want to drive my car. You love your car. Sell my car." I'm like, "Yes, sir, I will sell your car." Now, that car meant a ton to him. He loved that car. Many of you know it was a classic 1989 BMW 321i convertible. He loved the top down. In August, he would have the top down. He loved the heat. Yes, he would. You'd see him driving around town in his gray convertible with his gray hair and his gray beard. Look, ooh, so yummy, sexy. Be still my beating heart, even now. He never kept a car more than 3 or 4 years, ever, in his life and in our life together, until in 1997 he bought that car. He bought it used. He loved that car for so many reasons, because it was such a classy car, but also because he had the sentimental heart. It's an 89, and that's the year he and I met. So he loved that connection. So he said to me, "Sell the car. You're going to sell the car." "Okay, honey, I'll sell the car." Well, it took me a month and a half or so to get my act together enough to be willing to dip my toe into selling the car. But I finally did. And he also said, "Call Deneen, who's one of our congregants here. She works in the car business. She'll help you sell it." I called Deneen. She's like, "Totally, I'll help you sell it." She went on Craigslist. She posted it. We got pictures. Susan Peacock's partner, John, took beautiful pictures of it. We did everything we needed to do to sell it. We had people coming to look at it. I won't talk about the parade of people that came through, but I'll just give you one example of what happened. We need to go with the flow with this. And even though I did have frustration, I was going with the flow. I was. One time, we had a man drive from California to buy the car, money in hand to buy the car. Deneen gets there, they meet, they open the driver's side door, and underneath the steering wheel on the floor is a pool of golden color, thick, liquidy goo. What the heck is that? Well, the heater core had cracked. Just decided to crack right then. This is after several trips to the garage because of other things that had gone wrong with it when someone was there to look at it. That whole little adventure cost about $2,400 to get the car fixed, to get it ready to sell. For not all that much more than that. So last Sunday, I went in the garage and I said, "Okay, Lonnie, you told me to sell this. Let's go, babe. I need your help." I smudged it. I just got some sage. I smudged it. My whole garage smelled like pot, because that is what sage smells like. Not that I would know what pots. I've heard that sage smells like pot. Oh, it totally does. You all know that. You know that it does. Completely. And then I don't know what pot smells like. All right, well, let me tell you, it smells just like sage. And so now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a buyer who's gonna think there's been pot smoking in this car. I gotta air it now. I gotta air it out. I'm spraying it to air it out. Nonetheless, that's an aside. Tuesday, Deneen calls me and says, "I've got a potential buyer." Over this kid. He's a kid. He is Lonnie at 22. Honestly. I'm like, oh my God. He but he had the same, he was 6'3", thin, but muscular, curly red hair. That's what Lonnie had when he was that age, not when we knew him, but at that age he did. He just reminded me so much. I just know Lonnie sent this kid to us. ASU student. Just got in town the night before, getting in school. Doesn't have a car. Was looking for the perfect car. He wanted a car with character, not just any old car. He wanted an older car so he could work on it, because he loves working on cars. Didn't want a car with a computer. Older car. Something that was in his price range. He fell in love with that car. I didn't tell him why I was selling it until we shook hands, and then I burst into tears. And he's like, what? And I told him. He comes over, he gives me this gigantic hug, and he says, I promise you I will take good care of this car. I will honor your husband by taking really good care of this car. And then for the next 3 hours, 3.5 hours, he got jerked around by his bank, which is not in Phoenix, to try to get his money out so he could pay me. And this is really my go with the flow piece of the story. He was Lonnie in the way he handled it. He was kind to every person who told him a different story on the phone. He was never short. He was like, oh, we'll get this worked out. He was apologetic to me for, taking all my day. The sweetest go-with-the-flow kid I have ever run across. And yet it was exactly how my husband was. He just completely went with the flow. He was always kind. He was always considerate. He was always like, well, we'll get this worked out. And it did. And I just thought, what a lovely example. And you know what? As I look back at the flow, sometimes you have to look back before you can really see it. I would never have wanted to sell that car to him or actually anybody else with it needing $2,400 worth of work. That wouldn't have felt good to me to know, especially him. He gets to ASU. He's 4 days in class, and now the heater core breaks, and he's got to spend $1,600 on that, plus all the other things that had to be fixed. That wouldn't have felt good at all. I'm so happy, in fact, that those things went wrong and that he came when he did. And we had this beautiful day. He had a friend with him who said, we'll take pictures of the car and send it to you. Like, okay, that'll be good. It became very difficult when he left because I felt like I had another piece of my beloved had been kind of ripped out of me. So then I had to, for the next couple days, go with the flow of feeling what it felt like. And it sucked, to be honest, to use a technical spiritual term. It did. It was horrible. It was awful. But I had to go. I had to do that journey. And I feel a lot better now. I think it was Friday that I woke up and go, okay, I think I'm going to live. There's a new lightness. I think I'm going to be all right. Go with the flow. Now, I was having a conversation with my sweet friend Sandy, who's sitting right there, and we were talking about the journey and the flow, and she said, I love this. She gave me permission to share it. Wait, I have it written down. Wait, I have to say it louder, right? Say it louder, right. Yes. Watch out, here I come. There's no... There's no juiciness without the... She's moved over. There's no juiciness without the journey. There's no juiciness without the journey. We have to go through that journey sometimes to get to a yummy, juicy place in our lives, a badass place. But we have to get over ourselves and over to do that. So to summarize in reverse, go with the flow. And I invite you to think about your life, and are there places where you are not going with the flow, where you are digging your heel in and wanting it to be a certain way, or expecting it to be, or expecting this to happen or that, and it doesn't happen. My invitation to you is today, nick it. Nick it is what I'm going to say from now on. His name was Nick, the kid that bought Lonnie's car. I'm going to nick it, right? I know. I know. Right. Change. It is going to happen. So when it does, embrace it, knowing that it is for your highest good, even when it doesn't look like it. It is. And don't only embrace it, maybe that's your first step, maybe tolerate it is the first step. Embrace it, and then invite it. Invite it, because it is for your highest good. And then get those blinders open. And in your life, where do you have blinders on? Where do you have blinders on that you could expand to see the higher and the greater good? And a reminder that in all of this, which is all about change, we can get over ourselves when we know on which we stand. We stand on that which does not change. Let's pray. There is that which does not change. Source, the divine, intelligence with a capital I, God, constant, eternal, ever-present, all-knowing, changeless. There is that at the core of all. There is that at the core of me, at the core of every being, of everything. That which does not change rests and resides. And so I affirm and know for each and every one of us here this morning that as we go through our own getting over ourselves to express the greater, fuller life that is meant for us, that we in fact do find that changeless place in us that is bigger than us, and we stand on that. We rest in that. And then all those other things that need to occur that we've talked about this morning easily and gently occur in our lives. But in this moment, I affirm and I confirm and I know that I stand, that we stand on solid ground and are 100% supported 100% of the time. For this, I am so very grateful. I know that this word I have spoken has activated a law that has said yes, so I give gratitude for it. I call it good. And in faith and in trust and in truth, we let it be. And so it is.